Alright, boys and girls, I am so proud of what great writers you guys have become already. The past few weeks, you guys have written some awesome stories, and I can't wait to see what else you're going to write. We're going to start talking about some different ways that we could make our stories even better and more interesting for our readers. So, when authors write stories, they use many different ways to structure their stories because it makes it more fun to write and more fun to read. Structure is the way an author formats their book or the way they tell their story. For example, some authors use characters talking to tell their story. Most of the time in a lot of our pieces, we just kind of tell what happens and that's it. And that's okay, but today we're going to learn how you can use questions to tell a story. So when we're working in Writer's Workshop, we want all of our stories to be like books. And when authors write books, they use lots of different ways to structure their stories. So today we're going to use questions and answers to tell our story. But first, we need to talk about some important things to keep in mind. So, we're using questions to write a story. So the first thing we need to do when we're getting ready to write a story is to pick a topic, like always. Alright, and after we pick a topic, we're going to put our thinking caps on and we're going to brainstorm some key points that we want to share in our story. So brainstorm key points. Alright, so why don't we draw our little thinking bubble since we have our thinking cap on. We're brainstorming our key points. Now, those are the normal steps we take when we write a story. We pick our topic, we brainstorm our key points that we want to share. But since we're using questions and we're structuring our writing in a different way, we're going to take it another step further. So the next thing we need to do is create questions. So we're going to create questions that lead to our key points so that they can tell our story. Alright, and then after we have our key points and we created our questions, we're going to write your story using our questions and answers. Alright, so when you're going to write a question and write an answer, and when you link all those questions together, all those questions and answers together, you'll have a great story that's really interesting for your readers. So now we're going to write a short story so that you all can see what it's like writing a story using questions and answers. So yesterday I baked some cookies. So that's what we're going to write our story about. So we picked our topic, baking cookies, and now our next step is to brainstorm some key points. So our key points are things we want to tell our audience in our story. So we're going to make a short list of those. So I know that I want my readers to know that I was hungry and I wanted something sweet. Something sweet. What kind of cookies do you think I made? Whisper to your neighbor and tell them what kind of cookies you think I made. Snickerdoodle. See what I just did there? I asked you guys a question and you guys answered it. So that's exactly what we're doing in our story. So I decided to make chocolate chip cookies yesterday. So I want to make sure I tell my audience that. I also want to make sure my readers know what I use to make my cookies. So my ingredients. And then I also want them to know that my cookies were very delicious. Alright, so now that we have a list of our key points, does anyone remember what we're going to create next?
Questions.
Yeah, we're going to create our questions next. So remember, our questions are going to lead us to our key points. So the first thing, I'll go first. I'll write the first question. So I'm going to tell my audience, I was hungry. And I wanted something sweet to eat. So my question that I'm going to ask is, what did I want to eat? Remember, we always end our questions with a question mark. Alright, and then I'm going to answer my question. So, I wanted something sweet, like cookies. That's pretty exciting, so I'm going to next question mark. Alright, so the next key point that I wanted our audience to know was that I made chocolate chip cookies. Does anyone have an idea of what question I would ask to answer that?
What kind of cookies did you make?
That's a great question. What kind of cookies did I make? And then we have to write our answer. I made chocolate chip cookies. So the next thing on our key points was our ingredients. What question might I ask to lead to that key point?
What kind of ingredients did you use?
Yeah, or I could say, what did I use? We'll make it a little bit shorter so that we can get to our writing time. What did I use? And I used flour. What else might I have used? Eggs.
Sugar.
Sugar. And butter. And finally, I want my audience to know that my cookies were very delicious. So I'm going to ask, how did the cookies taste? And my answer, delicious. Alright, so now that you guys know how to write a story using questions and answers, I hope that you guys can try it out in your own writing sometime. Maybe if you have a completed piece of work, you could revise it using questions. Or if you're in the middle of something right now, think about how you could ask a question in that story. Today, if you're starting a brand new piece of writing, I really, really encourage you that once you came up with your topic and you come up with your key points, I hope that you can take it a step further and create some questions to use to tell your story. Don't forget, it's so important that we learn different ways to structure our stories so that it's really interesting for our readers. Alright, so if it is your day to use a clipboard, you may get up quietly and go get your Writer's Workshop folder and find your workspace. And now if it is your day to work at your table spot, you can go ahead and head back and get started.